we have to be climate smart when we do agriculture now. For example, the hottest year ever since the world was created has been the year 2024. We're talking about last year. And the last top 10 hottest years have been in the last 10 years. That just tells you how we are doing in terms of climate. And in Kenya, agriculture employs about 40% of the population, but only able to assist in the GDP by 22%. That is a discussion that we will be having now, and many thanks indeed for joining us. We can also remain interactive in our social media spaces. My co-anchor on the bottom right of your screen is Byron Abuli. Without further ado, allow me to introduce my panel of experts. I have two ladies and a gentleman. Allow me to begin from where I am, my immediate left. We have Margaret Akinyi. Margaret Akinyi is the head of programs at Sun CSA Kenya. Good morning and welcome.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Margaret Akinyi. I work for Scaling Up Nutrition Civil Society Alliance. At Sun CSA, we do a lot of advocacy work on food systems and nutrition advocacy.
Yes, and to my immediate left, we have Terry Maindo, who is the Women and Girls Program Coordinator. Welcome to the program.
Thank you so much. Good morning, everyone. My name is Terry Maindo. I work with CARE in Kenya as Women and Girls Programs Coordinator, whereby we prioritize women and girls issues in everything that we do. I'm happy to be here.
Welcome. And my far left, we have Nehemiah Mboro, who is the program lead, Africa Harvest Biotech Foundation. Karibu sana.
Asante sana, Ben. Thank you for having me here. Good morning, everyone. As Ben said, my name is Nehemiah Mburu, working with Africa Harvest, a development organization that intervenes in value chain development with a focus to market. Kenyan-based, started in 2022, so we've been around for about 20 odd years.
You mean 2002?
Yeah, sorry, yeah, 2002. Yeah. My apologies and thank you. And working across Africa with a Pan-African mandate. Thank you.
Yes, and allow me, because of the context of the conversation that we are having, what exactly you do in your various fields in relation to the topic that we are discussing today. Beginning with you, Baramburu.
Well, thank you. As I mentioned, Africa Harvest is a development institution that intervenes in the space between high-level research and smallholder farmer programming in rural parts of Africa. As I mentioned, our vision is an Africa free from hunger, poverty, and malnutrition. And how we do that is by streamlining value chains, agricultural value chains. We have worked in around 12 value chains across Africa, crop value chains, as well as 2 livestock value chains. And so we look for improved technologies adapted to smallholder farmer conditions, and then streamline it with a focus on market.
Yes.
Thank you.
Terry?
At CARE Kenya, we do a lot of women and girls empowerment, whereby we thrive by ensuring that we fight poverty and ensure that they achieve social justice. And through this, we are able to integrate women and girls empowerment in our programming through the locally led approach, whereby we ensure that we put women and girls at the front of everything that we do, because we know that they're the immediate people affected, especially when there's hunger. So how do we bring that they are able to sustain themselves and be at the lead and bring in the perspective of the nutritious food, resilience, and adapting to different climatic changes. So I can say that beyond just food and nutrition programming, we ensure that women and girls are at the center so that they can be able to achieve their human rights.
Maggie?
Well, at Scaling Up Nutrition, we do a lot of advocacy work in relation to budget advocacy, and also working closely with the ministries, that is the Ministry of Agriculture, Ministry of Health, the Division of Nutrition and Dietetics, and also Ministry of Social Protection, just to ensure that we know that all these stakeholders play a critical role when it comes to food security and also food nutritious food. So majority of our work is around advocacy, and also policy advocacy, and also budget advocacy that contributes to ensuring that the country is food secure. We know that food systems also play a critical role when it comes to production up to the tail end of consumer. And for us to be food secure, it encompasses the various pillars of food security. That's where we come in as a non-governmental organization committed to promoting nutrition.
Beginning with you, Bwana Nehemiah, I'm looking at what exactly the government did, and especially the Kenya Kwanza regime. Soon after they took power, the president did sign, and of course the fertilizer subsidies came in place. And I'm looking at what we've been able to accomplish in the last more or less 2.5 years of the current government. Are these initiatives really bearing fruits in terms of heading towards a food secure country?
Yeah, indeed. In fact, I was looking at it as a report just before we joined the set, and it says that for the first time in 4 years, our food import bill has dropped. Yes, granted, we are still importing a lot, and that report says that we are still importing upwards of $2 billion, about 266 billion Kenya shillings worth of food.
That's a lot.
So, but then the report says, to your question, is that that drop that has been seen in the last 4 years, I mean the first drop in 4 years, is attributed to the intervention that the government put in terms of subsidies. Because when farmers need to increase their production and productivity, they need critical inputs. For example, improved seed varieties, which is the role that we play a lot at Africa Harvest, but also issues of fertilizer and other services along the value chain. So it looks like that ship is changing. And I think for me, it's gratifying to hear that there are savings, because those savings can then be put to other demanding or more pressing needs that the country has. But above all, food security, as we know, is what? Is a security for the nation as well. Is also very critical on a number of other sectors that depend on agriculture. We are now talking about employment for young people. Statistics tell us that 75% of Kenyans are young. That is below 35 years. And so such incentives and such savings are critical to our development agenda and our development plans. Let me stop there.
Yeah. Going to you, Terry, you deal a lot with women. And I'm looking at Kenya. Women grow about 70% of all the food that we have in the country, but own less than 2% of all the title land in the country. What may be policy shifts that are critical to ensure farmers and women, especially women farmers, not only access land, also access credit as well?
Thank you so much for pointing that out. It's actually an area that, despite having it in our law that we have equal rights of accessing land, that has not been actualized. So at Care Kenya, what we are trying to do is to do advocacy with policymakers. Remember, we live in a patriarchal community, and land ownership has been for the men. So we are doing advocacy first to build the agency of women. You know, once they know, like, I need to own this land. It's the first thing, because most women, they participate, they have actually access, but they don't have control. And that is where the issue of land ownership comes in. And I'll tie it to achieving, accessing credit, because in most cases, we need security. And one of the biggest security with accessing credit comes in with what property do you have? What can be your guarantee for this? So we build the agency of women and girls to know the importance of having control over land. And then we change relations, because it's quite important. We change relations through engaging men and boys, so that they know how will this affect the whole system if we have women in the lead because they contribute 70%, as you have said. And finally, we come in with the aspect of transforming structures, ensuring that these policies, yes, they're there. How are we going to implement them so that if the woman works in the land board, or if I want to buy land, you don't tell me, where is your husband? Where is your brother? You know, it's my right. It's my human right to access land. So once we work through that theory of change, our gender framework that we use at Care Kenya, we are able to touch all angles, and this gives women access to land, and they can be able to access credit in line so that they don't have to be tied with maybe who is next to you and so on. So advocacy is also key in what we do, and actually one of our programs has worked with a research institution like the WeHub, that is the UN University, to ensure that under the women empowerment and economic pillar, how our policies change, which are informed by data, by statistics, so that we can challenge the norms that are within that ecosystem.
Maggie, I'm looking at the climate, and as we know, the hottest year ever has been last year, and the last 10 years have been the hottest in history. And I'm looking at some of the mitigation factors that we have in the country. Drought resistant crops like cassavas. I've seen farmers now doing a lot of sorghum, millet, yams, and also there are these called orange-fleshed sweet potatoes. What lessons can Kenyans scale from that, bearing in mind that, as Mboro has mentioned, that we are buying a lot of food?
Thank you so much. We know that there are a lot of climate repercussions when it comes to food security. So some of the things that can be done is ensuring that young people are invested in because they have that capacity and also the knowledge. So for example, in scaling up nutrition at Sun CSA, we work closely with 400 and around 50-something community-based organizations just to support in making sure that agricultural value chains, agricultural food systems is well incorporated and well inclusive. So in these counties, we support those organizations to be food resilient by impacting them with the knowledge and also with crop diversification information to make sure that they are bringing up crops that are climate resilient, and also that they can crops that are able to withstand climate change action. And I would also say that we have a project in Kiambu County that deals with agri-food systems, advancing gender transformative action to agri-food systems and nutrition governance, that is also looking at the leadership of women in that sector. So how do we bring women to make sure that they are able to contribute to the agricultural production? So those are some of the things that we are really doing to make sure that the community and the country is well empowered to afford or be able to be food secure.
Bonamboro, I'm looking at climate smart farming adaptations. As a country, we really need to adapt them. Which are some of these climate smart adaptations that we really need to adopt as a country, in as much as we are doing research and coming up with varieties like cassava, sorghum, which can withstand the climate that we have at the moment?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much for that question. And indeed, this is work that we have done. We have been involved as Africa Harvest in the dry lands of Kenya since 2009, promoting the adoption of improved varieties. We have a lot of research, as you rightly said, from even the CG system, that is the International Crop Research System, with people like ICRISAT, IITA, CIMID, who develop very good technologies that are climate resilient. And climate resilient that say, for example, within 90 days, you are able to go to market with, say, a sorghum variety that can increase productivity for the farmer from, say, 800 kilos per acre We have seen up to 1.7 tons per acre just using improved technologies. But in addition to that, you also have to look at the land. Because that being our most productive asset, how are we taking care of it? So issues of climate smart agriculture, minimum tillage, having cover crops, for example, groundnuts, as well as pigeon peas and green grams in the dry areas. That helps that we are not losing too much soil carbon because we have a good cover. We also have to be looking at issues of integrated soil fertility management, issues of using manure, and issues of also water harvesting. And in fact, that is huge, particularly when you're looking at the dry lands. We've worked in the Raka, Kitui, Makueni, and when it rains, it pours a lot of water. So we have technologies that can assist farmers to tap that water so that when the crops are maybe struggling towards the end of the cropping cycle, you can do supplementary irrigation. So we really have to look at it in an integrated manner. Bring in issues of agroforestry, trees that will enhance the soil content. And so the thing is, and there are a lot of interventions that are going on. If you go, we sit in meetings in the counties, and there are quite a number of interventions that are going on there. For me, the opportunity is that as much as it's very dry, 75% of Kenya is actually arid. So to us, the investments that are going into arid areas, I'm sure if they are well coordinated, and I know they are well coordinated because the institutions that are playing there have a lot of experience, then it's an area that we can leverage to address our food security issues, and we have seen that. Then we have to bring in the issue of young people. As I mentioned, 75% of Kenyans are young. And the average age of a Kenyan farmer is 61 years. So those of us who are about to retire are the ones who are providing food for the bigger population. So how do we crowd in, or how do we get youth to be involved? And you see, for the youth, things are different. They don't just want to wait for 3-6 months to go to market. We have a program we are working with the MasterCard Foundation in 10 counties in Kenya, looking at how do we create 120,000 jobs for young people involved in agriculture. And so for us, when we started, we really had to change the mindset, because even the youth themselves need to see value in agriculture. And there is. We look at seed. If we look at the seed sector, we have a huge deficit of improved seed. And that's an area where the youth can go in and come up with SMEs that will then provide bridge that gap. We go to the production. The youth can play a huge role there. The figures that we were talking about, if we increase our production and productivity, it's an area that the youth can be involved in. But then when you start talking about youth, you have to be ready to do things different. Yes.
Yeah, and it's a good thing that you've mentioned youth, and I will tie that with the women so that Terry can tell us what exactly they are doing to also bring in the youth. Because as you have said, 61 being the average age of the Kenyan farmer, that is somebody who is in retirement. And unfortunately, there are no jobs, and the youths can seize these opportunities to ensure that at the end of the day, they are also young farmers as well. But for now, let's first of all cross over to Radisson Blu, where the Digital Banking Summit is currently underway, and the theme, innovation for tomorrow. But I'm told that feed is not ready. But Terry, maybe you can touch on that, how you're trying to rope in, and especially young women, into matters farming. Because 61 being the average age for a Kenyan farmer, that is way too old.
Yeah, true. So at Care Kenya, I said women and girls, so definitely they're the youth, they're young women. So what we do, we have programs that are really targeted, and I just want to build from what they said. With youths, you do things differently. But again, we need to tap to the old wisdom, yeah? So we have a model called intergenerational dialogue, whereby we bring in the old people, like the mature people and the young people, to share ideas. How do you learn from the young people? And then how do the young people learn from the old? And this, they're able to share in the issue of digital economy. So from that perspective, we are able to, we create spaces through different projects that we have. We have a project called She Sews, we have Sewing Change, we have Cascade, which employ these vice to do. At the same time, we involve women, youth under a project model we call Youth Saving Loan and Association. So through this, we start to train young people how it's important first to save and invest, so that they're able to take ownership and know that it's important to save. So it's a curriculum that takes some time. We come in after the training, we are able to fund them directly, like to come in with issues like dairy farming, beekeeping, and so on. And then we link them to the market. Like in Kajiado County, through our Sewing Change project, we have been able to build a honey manufacturing company, whereby once they build their capacity from the demo that we have constructed there, they learn, they come in and practice, and then from also their savings, they are connected to the market, their honey is processed, and then they are connected to the market. When it comes to dairy farming, we bring in ownership. They save, they contribute a little, but again, as care directly, we support them to own the goats, and then we link them to the dairy farming institution, production institution, where they can sell their milk. But ideally, the first thing I said, it's building the agency. How do we change the mindset? And then again, how do we change the relationship? At the most populated, the way he has mentioned, the older people, are they ready for the youth to come into their industry? So that can only be applicable if we change relationship. And then we ensure that the environment is favorable for them. Do we have the policies that these women can access finances from the government, the youth? Can they access finances so that they can be able to do the production and get into the agricultural system? Yeah.
Maggie, what Terry and Nehemiah have talked about makes a lot of sense, and especially when it comes to the young people. And I believe where we can dangle the agriculture carrot in terms of youth engagement is on tech, because they are always on their phones and their gadgets. And I'm looking at how we are using tech, because 10, 20 years ago, we didn't have the technology that we have, such that I can take my phone, I can have a photo of how my crop is behaving, or the color of the leaves, or the stunted growth, and I can know exactly what is happening. That was not there 20, 30, or 15, or even 10 years ago. But how can we ensure that we are roping in technology to assist us in actualizing the food security? Because I'm looking at high technology adaptation while bridging also the digital divide that we have in the rural areas where most of our crops are grown.
Thank you so much for that question. I think it takes a lot of commitment to ensure that the rollout of technology and also the responsible use of technology. I think this is a low-hanging fruit that all stakeholders should kind of leverage on to make sure that we are getting information on the hand to help us mitigate measures that come with climate change and also food insecurity. So for example, when I take my phone, I'm able to know the kind of weather that is going to happen maybe within a week, and majorly by use of that technology, your phone, you'll be able to know the type of crop or the type of animal, livestock that is able to resist some of the climate change actions. So that is an opportunity that we young people, or rather all the stakeholders that are involved in the food security sector, can leverage on. And also we know that right now the world is going the AI way, where people are able to access information on what is happening globally and what are the priorities areas that are taking shape when it comes to climate action. So for young people, or rather for the populations, a lot of trainings need to be done so that they are able to get that particular information around the changes in weather, around issues to do with climate action and adaptation, and also just making sure that there is responsible use of technology. You know, technology is also used in other platforms, and also making sure that there is crop diversification that ensure that the different variety of crops are able to be grown in the different sectors. So one of the pathways for UN food systems is the digitalization of food systems. So that I see a great opportunity where the populations in the country, including the government, can take up that opportunity to make sure that all stakeholders that are involved are well educated on the responsible use of technology, and just us as the stakeholders using that information to empower our older generations who are taking up farming as it drives the backbone of our economy. So we can also use that platform to make sure that we educate our older generation so that they are able to adopt or adapt with the current climatic change conditions.
I totally concur, because if you look at TikTok, most videos are entertainment. We don't see a lot of videos touching on matters agriculture, and especially when we come to the youth. Yeah. Let's look at organic farming, Nehemiah. I'm looking at organic farming. We had organic farming even way before fertilizers came into place. Yeah. And this could be a game changer in actualizing food security in the country. Do you concur?
To some degree, because the experience, I'm not an expert in organic farming, but I've interacted with quite a number of researchers during the course of my career. And yes, it's one way that we can go, and indeed it should be encouraged to the extent possible. But we always say, let's look at the multiplicity of options that are there. So I'm not saying it can. It can indeed, and it has been used in specific areas, and there are programs that are supporting that. But then let's look at the multiplicity of options that we have so that we can enhance productivity. Because our greatest challenge is that a farmer does an acre, say, of groundnuts, and they only get 3 bags. Whilst, if they were to look at the good agronomics, get the right production system, get the right technology in terms of the seed, they have the potential to go up to 1.5 tons. That's about 15 bags within the same acre. So see, productivity and yields is our key challenge. And so if organic will get us there, I would say let's go there. If there are other options that we can, let's also go there. So to answer your question, yes, indeed, that's possible. It's one of the pathways. But as we go in, I like to say, let's look at the entire set that we have of what can can help us get there. Thank you.
Terry, I'm looking at COP28. When it comes to pledges, Kenyans, the pledges were about 1.3 million USD. That's something to do with $1 billion shillings. And I'm looking at what safeguards ensure that these funds, if any, reach women-led cooperatives and not the CBOs and NGOs that we have seen in towns, because this money is negotiated, but does it really reach where it should, and especially when it comes to women-led initiatives?
So I'll not comment on if it reaches, because I need data to back up that, which I don't have at the moment. But what I'll say is, through our women economic and empowerment programs and what we do, once we strengthen their capacity first, we see at the household level they're able to participate in decision-making processes. And this does not only stop at the household level. We advance to the community level, going upward. So I say that care will thrive in localization. And in this, we ensure that they can be able to hold the government accountable. So one, I'll say the voices of women partly contributed to those discussions, because before COP28 we were able to go back to the root, listen to the women that we have built their agency, what do they want, and then the information cascade up there. So after this commitment, they are able to hold the government accountable. I want to set an example of a women rights organization that we work with in West Pokot County. They're called POEO. These women, we have built their agency, we have strengthened their capacity. Through that, they're holding the government accountable, and they're actually more into climate resilience because of their setup. So through that, apart from advocating for land rights, they're also coming in to question the government. You pledged this, what are you doing? So they're taking the advocacy perspective to ensure that resources gets there. I'll also talk about a women group like Paran in Narok. These are women that have strongly come in, even in COP28, they received an award. Why? Because of questioning the government. Accountability, you know, accountability is very important. So if the citizens are not enlightened, the women are not enlightened to hold the government accountable, then we'll not be able to say that the resources have come in. In our review meeting, those are some of the discussions that you go to the ground. You held the government accountable at your level. What have you achieved? And all this now ties up to the national work that we do, whereby I said we normally have Women Economic Empowerment Forum that we work with our partners. I'm saying working with partners because it's localization, yeah? So CARE, we are doing our programming through facilitation, yeah? So that we put the people at the community in front, because they understand their problems well. Like, I'm here in Nairobi, I can't tell what is happening in Kajiado, what is happening in Garissa, but the woman and the young girl in Kajiado, they can be able to tell what is happening. So we build their capacity, they can knock into those doors and say, you committed this, why have you not delivered? And then we, at our capacity, we are able to work with different organizations to now come in and lobby, yeah? You know, we complement what the government does. So how do we lobby in and ensure that these resources have reached to the women? There's also the issue of carbon credit. We are trying to enlighten the women and girls to understand, yeah? They just don't speak and say, we need the carbon credit, we need the money. When it comes, how is it going to help you? How is it beneficial? How are you going to benefit as a woman? And then again, which part are you going to get? You know, you can make noise, and then at the end of the day, as you say, the money does not reach there. So our voices, we believe in the voices of women and girls. Once we are able to speak out, and that is why I'm saying voices are very important. We can be able to tap at any door. The way our youths are doing, we also encourage them to use their voices and bring the accountability issue back at home. Yeah.
Maggie, I'm looking at 75% of the country being arid, and last year being the hottest year ever. And I think we can make lemonade out of the lemon. That's the hot sun that we have. And I've seen one of the projects in Machakos, and I think another project is coming up of solar powered irrigation in Garissa as well. But we have not taken advantage of the hot sun that is scorching us. How can we scale up water harvesting system to reduce dependency on rain-fed agriculture? Because I've seen this initiative with private companies like Elgon Kenya, who are distributing drip irrigation system and also enlightening farmers on the new systems that we have in matters irrigation.
Thanks. Sometimes this country, we often do not have mechanisms to harvest water. So even last year or just the other day, we experienced a lot of rainfalls, but we were not able to tap into that water. And it leaves the question, why are we not prepared to make sure that we have systems that help us to harvest the waters? 75% of land being arid is an opportunity that we can tap into by ensuring that we expound our water catchment areas and also water reservoirs. so that the people who are residing there or other people who have interest in agriculture can be able to use those land to do farm production and maybe livestock production. Look at the countries that are doing well, that are a desert. Egypt, well, because they have tapped into making sure that they provide water for agricultural production. So for us as a country, I think we need to put a lot of emphasis in making sure that we provide water water sources in those areas, so that people, or rather the communities who are able to take up agriculture should be able to do that. You can only make agriculture attractive if there is all those resources that are required. So, and also making sure that the agricultural inputs are subsidized, so that the people who want to take up on agriculture are able to access those equipments at a subsidized rate. Look at when somebody wants to drill a borehole, or a mere farmer wants to drill a borehole, it takes around 1 million to do a borehole in this country. So you can imagine, where would that farmer get that 1 million to do that borehole when they want to do farming in that area? So it takes a lot of concerted efforts and collaboration and partnership to make sure that water as a resource is provided. So the other day, when we were doing a lot of engagements in Kiambu, one of the farmers requested us to, requested if we are able to provide credits to make sure that maybe he has irrigation equipments, and also to drill a borehole in his land, so that he's able to do agricultural production. But in our capacity, we are not able to provide that. And it's our call on government to make sure that the goodwill from the government, such that those people who are willing to take up agriculture are able to be provided with the resources and the equipments that they need, so that we take this country to another level and make sure that we are making baby steps towards being food secure.
Bonanamaya, how can agribusiness as an insurance collaborate farmers and also to design affordable and also climate risk, to design affordable climate risk insurance on drought-resistant seed networks? Because at the end of the day, if at all we can be able to be setting aside some certain funds. A good example is, in your line of work, you're working a lot with counties. Are they ready? And do they even have the right policies to ensure that they adapt the climate smart farming that we're talking about?
Yeah, I can say that ever since agriculture was devolved, the counties have really stepped up. If you go to, they have county coordination programs that are called CASCOMs, where all players within a county who are involved in agriculture come and congregate. It's about coordination. And you'll be surprised if you attend those meetings, because I've attended quite a number. There's a lot of investment out there that only needs to be coordinated. She was talking about boreholes. You find that there are people who are in that space, but the counties are playing their role. You started with the issue of agribusiness, and to us, that's a critical pathway where the youth, we can really leverage the skills that the youth bring on board. And if we tie that, say, to the aggregation component, because you realize one other challenge we have is that everybody is producing 3 bags, 10 bags here, 6 bags there. So how do you go to market together? So you have to build strong agribusiness, aggregation systems. And recently I had a chance to visit the silos of NCPB in industrial area, and I was surprised, because you go in and you find tons and tons of groundnuts put together, so that if anybody in Nairobi wants, say, 5 bags of groundnuts, they just go in and pick. But then my question was, where are these groundnuts from? Because we've been involved in a groundnut program in Busia and Siaya. Surprisingly, the groundnuts are from Malawi.
Malawi?
Yes. As far as Malawi. And so the agribusiness component is one that can help us unlock that. Looking at how do we build aggregation subsystems, systems from the ground up, and then have the youth come in with technology. As she was articulating, youth can come in with within the digital space to be able to give market prices. And I know there are certain platforms that give you market prices, but if we can crowd in the youth in there, say youth from Busia are aggregating and they're taking their produce to one of the silos from NCPB, we already have the spaces. And I'm told we have the best storage space in Africa, already invested into. So it's a question of how do we leverage this to address key issues. One is aggregation. Number two, building agribusiness. But for the agribusiness component, which is something that we are doing in the youth program, you need to have a good strategy on enterprise development and entrepreneurship. So the incubating of young people so that they think business and then they start doing the business. Obviously supporting them, as I mentioned, through the various value chain nodes. If it's a seed, you have young people who are coming in as an SME to play a critical role in that. So agribusiness to me is one area that can really open up that space for young people. To answer your question about the counties, yes, the counties have really stepped up. The counties are really coordinating the process because there's a lot of investment in agriculture in various facets of it. So the coordination component comes in critical. Obviously, we are not there yet, but at least I can substantively say that, yes, we are on the right track.
Terry, if you could prioritize one policy or community-led initiative to fast-track climate resilience, what are some of the policies that you would adopt or you have seen on the ground that we really need to do something?
Yeah, the first policy I'll still talk about is about control, and that is land ownership. The community really needs to prioritize that, and I think mechanism needs to be made in place to ensure that that is implemented. Because once that is done, and from the previous discussion that we have had at the beginning, we realize that women really participate in it. So if we're able to give that ownership to them, yeah, they'll be able to control resources. And I'll tell you, magic will happen because they're there. This is their industry. They've done it traditionally, and now the modernity is coming, technology they're embracing. They're ever learning. So once they have that productive resources, it will be very important. Another thing is about accessing government finances. I know there's a lot of discussions about women funding and so on. Like, how do we make it more accessible to them? That is through awareness creation. So we need to have that policy. They know it's there, and then now which doors, you know, there's one thing, you know it's there, but you don't know which door you need to tap for you to get in and get the resources. So we have that policy in place. I'll say actually in Kenya, there's so many policies. It's about implementation. So I cannot say that we need to create another policy, but how do we scrutinize the policies that we have and ensure that they're implemented? And then now we bring the issue of monitoring and evaluation, their implementation, so that at the end of the day we're able to be accountable. But again, I want to note this one important thing. As policymakers, I know the processes, we need to have the data driven. But at CARE, I'll say we thrive at one thing, gender power analysis. So for us, when we do women and girls power analysis, the in-depth analysis, it talks about a specific county need. And now from that, we'll be able to custom-made the different policies that we have, so that at the county level, they're able to feed in these policies depending on their context. And you see, this one can only be done if you have been able to do that. You understand the disparities and the inequalities that are affecting women and girls, youth, matters concerning people people with disability, so that the all aspect of inclusivity is brought on board. And so when we sit down with the policy makers, yes, we have this policy. Is it addressing all these angles? And then how is it going to impact the different people in the different context. So it's very important that we are able to analyze the different policies that we have in the country and ensure that it has taken this perspective, but this can only be addressed if you're able to do an analysis that involves women and girls and also the youth in that perspective. Yeah,
Maggie, I'm looking at this war food security thing, and we cannot only leave it to the government. And that is why I have Africa Harvest here, we have CARE, and we have Sun Kenya here. Private entities. Now, how do we ensure public-private partnerships scale up things like affordable insurance and green technologies, and especially when it comes to counties? This is where the private sector now comes in.
Yes, and we've been calling ourselves the civil society organizations, and in our capacity under Sun CSA in collaboration with other partners, like I mentioned that scaling up nutrition, a civil society alliance is a part of global movement that has over 400 members. So we work in collaboration to make sure that we contribute to policies. So for example, we've had a number of engagements with the government to make sure that the food and nutrition security policy really reflects on the actions that are in the communities and on the actions that are in the country. So for us to make sure that this partnership is enhanced, we need to keep on working together, because we know that government cannot work alone. It needs the private sector and also the civil society to support its effort. And that is one of our strongholds that we've really been supporting the governments to come up with policies that help make sure that we have a food secure country. The other day I was in a meeting that seeks to make sure that the contribution, the national determined contributions towards climate change as a country for priority are well captured even in the global space, so that we are able to mitigate these issues that come up with climate change. And it took a lot of concerted efforts, because even the ministries and the relevant ministries were present, just understanding and also having conversations on how we can help mitigate and put adaptive measures to make sure that we are food secure, and also at the same time promoting environmental conservation, in the sense that we know that agricultural emissions are quite high, and also agriculture also plays a critical role when it comes to nutrition. How are people able to get nutritious food? How are they able to be productive at the end of the day? So there is a lot of partnership and collaboration that is already existing, but one of the things that we still grapple with is how to tap a lot into the private sector, so that there is a tripartite relationship between the government and the civil society organizations and the private sector, because at the end of the day, the person that we are aiming to empower or to make sure that their capacity are built is that one farmer. So if the government is able to provide the necessary equipments, and also the CSO coming up with the empowerment initiatives, and also creating a platform where the policies are well implemented and they adhere to the implementation, and making sure that the budget allocation for implementation of agriculture and food security policy is well placed and ring-fenced, so that we are able to achieve our vision 2030 of being food secure as a PL.
Nehemiah, I'm looking at new technologies that have come about. We now have soil testing, soil sampling, and more or less, if you look at Kenya, for example, I come from a region where there's a lot of miraa, and of course tea and coffee as well. If you go to the coast, you find a lot of nuts and fruits as well, coconuts as well. is it a way that we can actually prioritize that? Because if at all we know very well a certain region, just because of the 75% that we're talking about that is arid, is the best place to grow something, then we can put more emphasis on that in regards to that, so that we may have, if it's sugar, we know very well, Western, we talk about rice, we're talking about Njue, and some parts in Nyanza as well.
Yeah, indeed, that's a critical point. And the starting point for any farmer is the soil. And this is a frustration where you go in, you get your seed, you plant, but at the end of the day, you're only getting the 2 bags I was talking about. Why? Because we did not start with understanding, what does my soil lack? And there are programs right now. I know there's one under CARO, and there's a program funded by the World Bank called NAV CDP that is building capacity in counties from the previous program called NARIC-P, where they even invested in soil testing kits at the county level. And that's critical, because then a farmer is well aware that my soil requires 1, 2, 3. This is the type of crop that I need to grow, and this is where I get the improved seed for that. And so that then enhances the productivity, the yields that I was talking about. And then we layer that on issues of technology, as she rightly mentioned, climate information, so that the farmer knows, okay, my timing for planting is between 10th and 15th of March. That's when I will have optimized the rain that comes, the first rain that comes in. So that data-led and that technology-led production systems is where we need to go. And we're already going there. When you go down to the counties, you find that a lot of that is happening. You also mentioned about looking at where can we focus on, say, production of nuts in this particular area. I don't know how far that has gone, but I know there's a program to map the soils in Kenya, so that we are very well targeted in terms of where production should happen. I know I was sat in a discussion or a meeting where that was being discussed. So, as I said, we have a lot of knowledge out there. But how do we utilize it? How do we leverage it? And I think, to me, the county becomes the point where we can do that.
All right.
The county becomes the point where, or even the private sector that she was talking about. We have engaged a lot with the private sector. And the private sector, when you go to them, they have 3 things. We want large volumes, good quality, timely delivery for them to invest. They are ready to invest. We worked with an SME that imports the groundnuts, I was saying, from Malawi. They are only utilizing 35% of their installed capacity. Why? Because Kenyan farmers cannot satisfy that. So for the private sector to come on board, they are focused on the bottom line, which is a profit. We are focused on the social profit. So we have to find a way of these two coming together. And I think government has to play its role. Private sector players are also living within the communities that we are living in. Okay. So it's a question of how do we coordinate? How do we coordinate better?
Let's take a quick break, but we'll be right back to wrap up this conversation. And my biggest question would be, we've seen in health some of the organizations like USAID are pulling out. We have various agriculture funded projects by international bodies. Should we be really also checking that out so that we may return agriculture fully to the exchequer? But I'll sample your views as soon as we take this quick break. Remember, from after the break, we'll be crossing over to Mombasa, where my colleague O'Brien Kimani will be having architect Stephen Mwilu, the manager compliance at the National Construction Authority, and Lawrence Mwangi Gitau, who is the acting secretary of the Public Works. And that in regards to the engineers and construction workers, the industry seminar that is in Mombasa, looking at matter safety and compliance of our building. Let's take a quick break. We'll be right back.
grateful for you. The first time I met you, I felt there was a connection between us.
We were so close, and I couldn't resist kissing you.
There's nothing in life that can cheer me up, huh? Am I wrong? It's like, how do I describe this? An empty life.
4 years, do I have any time for myself? In all these years when you're in school, I'm in school. I want to take a break on weekends, but I don't even have time to be alone. Who gave you lessons in summer and winter breaks? Who took you to travel all over the world? It was me, ungrateful kid.
Kuhusu na hii kesi ni ya mtu mlagai. Mtu ambaye ana huruma.
With your knowledge,
Ndio.
how comes a big person like you, you are giving passengers, part vehicle? Why?
Are you listening to yourself?
I'm listening myself.
Unajisikiza ukiongea?
Of course, why not? So, kielele ni nini umeleta hapa kwa koti?
Kielele tena? Wewe unahatarisha maisha.
Hii ni kielele msimo kwa gari hapa. Na umesema chio ilikuwa imevunjika huko
nyuma.
Haki nini wachinga kweli?
Nimekupata na hatia ya kosa hilo, nimekufunga kifungo cha miaka 6.
Sita.
Hesabu 1 2 3 4 5 6.
Kwa mtu ana watoto 7 kama mimi.
Welcome back to KBC Biz Check, where we are looking at food security. And if you just joined us, I'm privileged to have Margaret Akinyi, who is the head of programs at SAN CSE Kenya. I also have Terry Maindo, who is the Women and Girl Coordinator, Program Coordinator at CARE Kenya, and also Nehemiah Mburu, who is the Program Lead at Africa Harvest Biotech Foundation. And before we crossed over for the break, we were talking about also wrapping it up, but also when it comes to funding, your closing statements as well.
Well, I think we're at the point where we recognize that we have specific roles to be played. And indeed, as I started by saying, food security is national security. Because if we have issues, I don't want to mention them, like the spring of, was it 2008, and what happened then, then we know that we need to really focus on food security. And I know the government is looking at it from different angles, investing in research, the research system, so that the research that's being done in the country is geared towards our national aspirations. And then the private sector also has to play its role. Whether the exchequer can do that, I don't think one segment can adequately do it. It's got to take all of us. But then we have to look at it from that multifaceted approach, recognizing that we are all in need for something specific. Our belief in Africa Harvest is when we are looking at a value chain, everybody involved, the actors and the stakeholders, the government, farmers, private sector, everyone, they have to see the value in that for them to invest. So to me, the issue is that we have specific roles to play. Let's see how do we optimize this. We have to be better coordinated. Yes, of course, you talked about the shocks that are coming from USAID, and obviously they've affected quite a number of people. And they are regrettable, but it is what it is. But then moving forward, it's also a learning point for us. Going forward, what do we do? Is there anything that probably we could start as a kitty that in 10, 15 years will be able to fund our own programs as a country? Maybe it's a, something to think about.
It's a wake-up call.
Yeah, it's a wake-up call.
All right, Maggie?
Well, I could begin with the USAID pulling out was quite unfortunate, especially in the different sectors, health, agriculture, all those sectors. But it was also a wake-up call for us to be sustainable, putting a lot of investments in agriculture and also in health, so that when such things happen, we are able to respond in a way that does not leave a gap. because the USAID effect has left more than 35,000 Kenyan people jobless. And those are Kenyans who are able to pay taxes, and that tax translates to even, the payment translates to even the mama mboga, even that farmer at in a farm somewhere. So it's upon us as a country to really look into our internal domestic funding that can help fund the programs so that we are able to be food secure, and also ensuring that the food security pillars, for example, the availability, accessibility, and stability of food security are well looked into, so that it does not reach a point where we start going to maybe ask for donations so that we are able to help our citizens in the country.
All right, Terry, as you wrap.
Yeah, I'll join my colleagues here to say actually it was quite unfortunate, and we really empathize with our colleagues from that sector. And I'll say that it's not like it has not affected us, because in women and girls programming, we look at the intersecting factor. Health is quite crucial, and it really ties up to the issue of food security in one way or another from that intersectionality perspective. But still, it's a wake-up call to our government, as my colleagues have said. How do we use our own resources? How do we ensure that we're able to cushion ourselves, and in case such a thing happen, we are not impacted that much? And I'll still say it's quite important, even for the CSOs, to have a mind of sustainability. Yeah, and this mind of sustainability from the word go of our programming, whereby we are able to program with the women and girls, the communities that we work with in mind, so that if anything happens, we are not praying that it ever happens again, but how is our intervention sustainable? Are we going to cry the next day, or will be like, okay, we can be able to move forward like this? And that clearly goes back to the government, that we really need to invest locally and ensure that all the angles, the dimension that we need to put in place are addressed. And for sure, if we have food security, we'll have a happy world, and I'm quite sure our women and girls are going to thrive. So we just need to ensure that we provide that space for a good world.
Thank you so much, Terry. And of course, we are not raising the alarm. The reason that we're talking about, we have so many partnerships in agriculture, IFAD, World Food Program. We have a number of agriculture projects that we rely on aid as well. But we are not raising the alarm. We are hoping that as a country, we should learn, as a wake-up call, to learn to be self-sufficient. Indeed, Terry Maindo, who is the Women and Girl Coordinator, Program Coordinator at Care Kenya. Just next to her, we have Margaret Akinyi, who is the Head of Programs at SUN CSA Kenya. And that's next to him. Next to her, but we have Nehemiah Mboro, who is the program lead at the Africa Harvest Biotech Foundation. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much indeed for your time and your insight. Many thanks indeed. That's where we put a cap on BizJek, but we have not ended up the whole program, because we're now crossing over to Mombasa. Our business editor, O'Brien Kemani, is currently on standby with two guests. We're talking about re-engineering the construction sector, so in matters security and compliance as well. He's in the coastal city of Mombasa. Good morning, O'Brien.
Well, asante sana, Ben, Troy, Njue in Broadcasting House. And we want to welcome you all now to the city of Mombasa, where we are going to take up another great conversation around how to reinvigorate, how to strengthen, and how to embolden the construction industry here in Kenya. For now, for the current generation, of course, and of course for the future generations. And we are talking about an industry that contributes about 3 to 4% to our national wealth every year. And the value of this critical industry is estimated to be around 1.3 trillion Kenya shillings. And that is significant by all standards. And the question is then, how do we create a sustainable construction industry? And how do we put the right people in this important sector? This can only be achieved through the concerted efforts of both the national as well as the county government, plus the help of the private sector, who are some of the major investors in this industry. And that's why this morning we're going to have this dialogue, bringing together people in the national government as well as the devolved units. And joining me on my immediate right, we have the governor of Uasin-Gishu County. This is Dr. Jonathan B. Thank you very much indeed for joining us, Bona Governor, for your time. And of course, next to the governor, we have Francis Mwangangi. He is the deputy governor for the county of Machakos. Thank you very much indeed for your time. And finally, we have Stephen Mwilu, architect. He is the manager for compliance at the National Construction Authority. So you agree with me that we have a beautiful cocktail here of good brains who are going to guide us through this conversation. And of course, I am O'Brien Kimani. I just want to start with Stephen Mwilu. The reason why we are here is because of all of us are here under the auspices of the multi-sectoral agency committee. And you've been having this conversation on how to strengthen it and, of course, how to relook at the issues facing the construction industry since Monday. Your mandate, you've been around since 2015, 8 years down the line. What?
Thank you, O'Brien, and good morning, Kenya. Yes, since Monday, we have been discussing on how to strengthen the construction industry. It is true that the industry has some challenges. We don't want to hide our heads under the sand. We do realize that we have challenges that require collaborative effort between the national government, the devolved governments, and all of us, including the media and the public. Yes, currently we are all talking about the National Building Code, which is coming into being from 1st of March 2025. We are asking ourselves, what does each entity play? How do everyone come into place as we this code going forward? Thank you.
Yesterday, there was conversation around, the county government and the gaps they are in when it comes to strengthening the construction industry. And some of the issues that were raised were, number one, lack of professionals, at the county level to oversee and to implement projects. And number two was enforcement by county government when it comes to, for example, the building code and building regulations. I want to hear from you. Your county is one of the latest to give us a city in the name of Eldoret City. What capacity do you have as a county to oversee the growth and the expansion of the construction industry?
Thank you, Brian and Kenya. Good morning. First, I want to say this discussion is very good, and I'm very happy that I am part of the session. I attended this meeting yesterday. Eldoret is one of the fastest growing cities, I think, in our region, and it is strategically located in the sense that it is a gateway to Uganda, the western part of Africa, to southern Sudan, and of course the western part. The upsurge of towns coming up and the speed at which we are getting so many buildings coming around requires that we have to be very ready for it. One, we put policy in place that will help us, zone the city so that we will not surpass the areas or the boundaries required. The residential unit, the residential areas, the commercial areas, the agricultural sector, and all that. Uasin-Gishu naturally is a farmer's county. And there is that temptation that the town can encroach into the farmer's land. And as we move forward, we have the personnel, but this personnel require a lot of capacity building, and I would wish that they should have been here so that through the lessons that we learned yesterday and maybe today, we will be able to capacity build these people. Secondly, it is not enough to say we have engineers or we have architects or all those, but we want to ask how many are registered from these people so that they can give quality services. And of course, in the planning of our city, naturally, when people heard that now Eldoret is a city, there is a lot of migration from the rural folk, especially the young people. Now it calls upon us now on the preparedness. How can we, accommodate these people? We are seeing the affordable housing program coming in, but again, it is not as quick as we thought. So it requires a lot of planning, it requires a lot of consultation, and as a government, we have put measures in place. There is also a temptation, I know Windu will agree, that those parts of Elgonview and Eldoret and some residential areas, now commercial buildings are coming up, and soon they will run away to some safer places because the moment you have this commercial building and the entertainment zones, places where people want to come for clubbing, then you will just move. Nobody will chase you away. So I think we need strict policy on how to protect the interest of various users of this city. And as a county, we are prepared, and only that we didn't anticipate that it will be so quick that people are moving. You know, we have a number of institutions in Western County. Moi University being the oldest, and the University of Eldoret. We have Moi Teaching and Referral, airport and all that. Anybody who moves to Eldoret City will never go back. That's when we've gotten to note that anybody who moves to Eldoret City will not go back to wherever they came from. And then second to Nairobi, we have the highest concentration of professionals. You talk of architects, engineers, you talk of what they are all here, and the lecturers and all that. So it has a lot of potential to become something better. If we follow this kind of multi-sectoral discussion on buildings, on housing and land, I think it will be the best place to live in. And remember, Brian, we have the best climate in the world. That's why Muzungu left that place late, when everybody else had gone away.
but also we also have to appreciate the fact that, you know, with the exponential growth of new cities and towns, I mean, we're also facing another challenge of rural to urban migration. And because of lack of planning or enforcement in terms of physical plannings and use, we're ending up with towns that are not well planned, towns that do not have proper utilities, towns that do not have proper infrastructure. And Njue or Eldoret town is not immune to this. And that's why you're having unplanned building mushrooming everywhere, unplanned settlements coming all over the place. And so as a county government and as a CEO of Njue County, how well prepared and what steps are you taking to ensure that the Njue of 2035, of 2040 is well planned and well executed?
Very good. Thank you so much, Brian. What you are saying is what is it that we are supposed to do to come up with a very smart city or a city where it is well planned. And the problem has been with the department where it approves these buildings. So the approval time of the buildings that are coming and the approval department, sometimes either it delays or they get compromised, and it has happened before. It is not only in Eldoret, but sometimes you will ask yourself, what is it that building is there, and the natural mind will tell you it's not supposed to be there. And the fortunate thing about Eldoret City, we've never had buildings collapsing. Even a small toilet cannot collapse. I think the way, but still that approval.
Is it maybe because you're not having so many buildings coming up?
The approving team sometimes either it delay or compromise. It just for us now we are putting strict measures. We are a city. The Eldoret town has been there from 1912, now 100 and something years, 112 years. Now, cognizant of the fact that we are now a city, we are calling upon the likes of me here and the department, so that you can have interactive session with my technical people, especially in as far as planning of the city, and then coming up with the building and the sewer lines and all that. We are also cognizant of the fact that we are growing, and that one has really given us a lot of challenge. But the problem now is, where will the city end? Where is where will the city start and end? So people will say, let's go vertical. Njue, I would suggest that we don't have to expand so much, especially in the city, because we are a farmer city. And these people who are coming to these towns, and we feed Kenya. Sometimes I would suggest that with the proper planning, we don't go encroaching on the farmers' territory.
Very well.
Because we need food, we need enough supply of food. And happy for us now is we have ready markets for the farm products, that the people are here and the food is there. So what I'm doing as a governor is I want to put in place very serious professionals, especially in the line of approvals of building, in the lines of planning, in the lines of zoning the city, so that we will not go beyond your boundary. If it is residential, it is residential. If it is agricultural, it is agricultural. If it is commercial, it is commercial. But there are many dynamics coming up.
Very good. Well, I'll come back to you, but I just want also now to bring on board the Deputy Governor for Machakos County, Francis Mwangangi. I mean, you've been a member of Parliament before, so you've been part of the legislative team. And when you look at Machakos County, I mean, it is part of what is classified as the Nairobi bedroom that composes of Kiambu County, Kajiado County, and Machakos County. And you have seen exponential growth in the last 20 years. Machakos and Nairobi County, I think now they have, you don't even tell where the boundaries are. And so with this growth, I mean, it's also coming up with so many challenges. As the Deputy Governor of Machakos County, what measures have you put in place to ensure that going forward, the people who are migrating to Machakos County, the high population growth being experienced in your county, they find suitable laws for construction, and of course, there are proper safeguards to ensure that the buildings that are being put in Machakos County, they meet the...
Thank you, Brian, and thank you for this program and the meeting that has been here since Monday, the beginning of the week. Allow me first to comment about the meeting and then I come to the question.
All right.
It's very important.
And I also want to recognize that you've been here since we you've been here since Monday, actually.
That's true.
It's my boss who was supposed to be here.
Yes.
And, she sent me and I have to update.
Wonderful.
Now, first and foremost, this is a very critical meeting. Let's all agree in this forum that every county, as a result of devolution, as a result of devolved many functions, every county is growing. There is construction, whether for road, whether for any form of infrastructure. There is always something that is happening in terms of construction. That is very critical.
Yeah.
The only thing I think we need to appreciate, promote professionalism in this country. That will be my take. Why am I saying this? Efficiency and effectiveness is very important. In Machakos, when Governor Wavinya came in, the approvals were almost taking 1 to 2 months. Today, the maximum is 3 weeks. And I've sat in a meeting where she's demanding that those approvals they be reduced to almost less than a week. Why are we...
The turnaround time.
Yes. Why are we pushing this kind of scenario? Nowadays, we are competing globally. And as we sit here, probably this program is being watched globally by many people who would wish to come and invest in this country. Now, once you land in this country, there are counties. You want to go where there is competitiveness, where people are valued, where processes move faster. Because we can lose a competitor to Uasin Gishu. Uasin Gishu here might lose a very critical competitor to Machakos, depending on how that the environment of doing business is. So the ease of doing business and this workshop that is happening here are very critical. And I've had every session we are talking about effectiveness, how we can ensure ease of doing business. Now, coming to your question in Machakos specifically, yes, Machakos is the bedroom of Nairobi, and what I've seen Governor Wavinya's administration do is to ensure we insist on proper planning, insist on ensuring proper infrastructure is put in place. And that has enabled us even to some areas collaborate with the national government. His Excellency the President has visited Machakos more than 5 times since he came to power. And then he comes to launch some of these programs that we are doing in collaboration. Now, out of the 5 visits, 4 of those visits have been in Mavoko, where there is a lot of development that is ongoing. The issue of housing, the issue of sewerage system, the issue of roads, the issue of water infrastructure. I brought our president, the Kenyan president, to that particular area. So we are doing a lot, but more so is ensuring there is ensuring that there is a proper planning as far as our county is concerned.
I want
there
to
is
hear
also another thing. When we came in, we had around 3 engineers registered,
employed by the county government.
Yes. That number has gone close to almost 10. But we have also graduate engineers who are slightly above 50, as late as
working with the
last
county
month.
government.
Yes. So we are doing.
Do you have the services of an architect?
Yes, they are there.
Quantity surveyors?
Yes, they are there.
Very good. What about your syndication?
Same.
Is the same?
Yes.
I'll be coming back to you just to find out how facilitated they are. But I just want to bring Muilu into this conversation. You are in charge of compliance at the National Construction Authority.
Yes.
And you are in the midst of some of the agencies that you work with, the county government. When you look at the work that is being done by county government, what are some of the challenges that you are going to highlight that needs to be addressed by the devolved units?
Thank you, Brian, and thank you, governors, for the comments that you have mentioned. It is true that the counties that are represented here and the ones that are not yet represented here, we are working together collaboratively. Yes, we expect as we register projects, as we do compliance, that part of the work that we do is through activities of the county governments. Approvals is, as per the Physical and Land Use Planning Act, are done by the county governments. We work together for the purposes of quality assurance, site inspections, and issuance of occupation certificates. The county governments, and it has rightly been mentioned in terms of capacity building, the counties previously in the numbers of professionals, because as we go to sites for the quality assurance, we want the projects to have been designed, approved, and being supervised by professionals. As national government, we are working with the county governments in terms of sensitization, capacity building of their teams, and even the locals, the developers and the construction workers and site supervisors, and even the contractors in their fields. So going forward, and these MSAC discussions that we are having, it is bringing us into a discussion whereby maybe some counties might not have been aware that we need to work together, or even activities of other agencies. But we are realizing, and thanks to Machakos, already there exists an MSAC. County government officials Machakos work with the NCA offices in Machakos. We do expect Uasin Gishu, now where we have an office, a regional office, that as well we have an MSAC where we are working. Not only MSAC existing in head office in Nairobi, but as well being devolved.
When the idea of forming MSAC, was conceived back in 2015, brought together various government agencies, as well as the three counties or 4, Kiambu, Machakos, and Nairobi. The number of counties that are part of emerging counties like Uasin Gishu.
Yes, O'Brien, that is very true. In fact, MSAC has already visited many counties as of now. We have visited Kajiado, we have visited Kisii, we have visited Kisumu, we have visited Murang'a, and many others. What we are saying is MSAC should not be based in Nairobi only. MSAC should be devolved. But of course, there must be a coordinating agency. And the coordinating agency sitting in Nairobi, where NCA is the secretary, will bring in terms of the Nairobi metropolis. And we have rightly said, the Kajiado the Machakos, the Kiambu, and Muranga, they are closer home. But once in Kishu, as an example, they do not need to be flying in for a meeting in Nairobi. But of course, they need to have their own MSAC, and where necessary, if they have issues that we need to deal on, then we can move on there. We need to have a well-planned program where we can go in every county. In fact, yesterday we were invited into Asigishu next year, and the PS, who is the chair, did confirm that next year's meeting for the MSAC will be in Wasigishu. Thank you, Governor, for that invite.
And I have also had the proposal that we also need to have regional MSACs, that reports to the national MSAC. Is that an idea that you're entertaining? And if yes, what kind of a form is it likely to take?
Currently, just to inform you that for the purposes of enforcing our mandate, NCA has 14 regions. You will realize that as a reason of the building code enforcement, we require to be in all the counties. But for purposes of making sure that we can coordinate all these activities, not necessarily on the county regions, we need to have blocks. Even in terms of economic blocks, we do know they are already existing or being formed in the different counties. So what is going to happen is we do have regional coordination as per the national government administrative offices. NCA is coming up with 13 regions. Nairobi, Kiambu, and Machakos. Nairobi, Kiambu, and Kajiado will be one region. Then we have the others. North Rift, of course, is going to be divided so that we can be able to have regions that can take care of the Upper Eastern, the Turkana, the West Pokot, and Kitale, that is Trans Nzoia. I don't know what these are. So the purpose of having these regions is to be able to be well and easily available to provide the services than only to wait for directions from Nairobi. So all the agencies, NCA, Public Works, NBI, DOSH, just all the 29 agencies that are already in MSAC, and including the counties, then they can come together and be in a position to sit together, coordinate, and be able to provide a service to the citizenry at ease.
When you look at development, it's guided by two critical documents: the land use and it's called land use
and physical
the physical land use and planning act.
LUBA.
Yes, and the county integrated development programs or plans, which are supposed to be developed by counties. When you look at Machakos County, for example, how are you using these two documents to guide development of the construction industry and ensuring that the projects that are being undertaken in your county are both sustainable and environmentally friendly?
First, there is something I want to share with the viewers, and this is supposed to be put well by none other than by boss His Excellency Dr. B. That counties, unlike national government, there is the manner in which they are required to work. For example, in Machakos, it is dictated that every physical year, every financial year, but before that, there is, when we came in, when we got elected, we had to go to people in each of the wards to ensure we got the priorities from the people. And we came up with a document called the County Integrated Development Plan. The same law dictates that every financial year you go back to the people, irrespective of whether you did the programs you are given or not. You must go back to the same people and get their priorities and confirm if what they gave still stands as their priority. So out of that, there is an annual development plan for the county for that specific financial year, whether there is money or no money, whether there is money or no money. So in this case, counties are dictated on how to operate. You cannot just sit somewhere and think this is what people want. No, you must involve
the process
them.
has to be consultative.
So public participation in Machakos is very key, and that is led by none other than the governor herself. She never delegates when it comes to public participation, which is something very good. So ensuring that what is in the annual development plan or county integrated development plan with any other legislation is key for us. Is very key, and that is where, when it comes to national development, we must work with agencies like the National Construction Authority and other agencies so that we can deliver to the people and that which is within the law and that which the people consider to be their priority. Mm-hmm. Yes.
Daktari, I've had these complaints. Some of the roles played by the National Construction Authority should be devoted to county government. But the question has always been, the county government, do they have the capacity, do they have the technical expertise to undertake the work that is done by NCA? For example, the work of building inspections and approvals. It requires a very high level of expertise, technical expertise. If this role was to be given to the county governments, do they have the expertise to do this job?
Thank you, Brian. Let me cite what you have just said, Honorable Mwangangi, that the spirit of devolution is to bring services down to the people, and again give the people the opportunity to choose what they want. You know, sometimes as a leader you say, I will bring this road and then I will do this, and people will tell you fine, but this is what we want ourselves. Do that bridge. We didn't want what you told us when you are campaigning. So in fact they will count what you did for them because it was their decision, and then they say, where is yours now? We told you we needed this bridge, that is the bridge. We needed this road, and this is the road. Now you told us so many things. Where are these ones of yours? So why we think devolution has come at a time when we needed it is because we are giving power to the common man to choose exactly what he needs for his own development. Secondly, when we do devolution, it's just devolution is devolution. That the office of my brother here should come down. In Eldoret, we are headquarters of an economic bloc called NOREP. NOREP is 8 counties, and it will be closer when we have that office, but we need to see how well can we work together, how much time can we give this EMSA team, and how can these people meet our technical people, because at the end of the day knowledge is dynamic. What we knew yesterday must change completely, especially with the advent of the IT and the ICTs and the new knowledge in the market. So I would suggest personally that when we have our people there on the ground, our planners, our architects, and all these supervisors, they should be kept abreast of the latest technology, so that we don't remain the old school of thought that really doesn't change. You come to Eldoret, for example, we are coming up with a regeneration plan for the city, because the way it used to do business and trading has changed completely. Now people are in ICT, and people are, others, they don't require these big spaces in the offices, somewhere in a corner and you do your job. So I suggest that his office should come down, and of course we have proper meetings and quite a number of times, so that we keep ourselves abreast, so that we build capacity for the workers, for our planners, for the architects and all that. And again, there is a temptation that if you are an architect, it is so rare that you will stay in that field in that region for a long time. Like mine, it was taken I don't know where. Every time we get one, there are a lot of opportunities for them. So we need to, train more and capacitate more, so that at the end of the day, we will not miss something, especially when it comes to critical issues and decisions. So mine is, as we zone our city, we also have to come up with a plan, like in the next 10 years, in the next 50 years, and all that. So Eldoret now is becoming another city that requires a lot of attention. It's not just enough to say a city. So what after a city, what happens? So we need now to come up with a modern way of managing the city, modern way of planning the city, so that at the end of the day, other generations will really
also benefit
from
the current.
But what I am really conscious about is the upside or the speed at which people are moving to the city, and because of opportunities, either business opportunities or looking for job or something like that. How can we manage these people? Now there is some new dynamics coming up. Eldoret Railway City. For sometimes we knew a city is just a city, but there's another city within a city. It is another dynamic, we've never heard of it. But when you look at it, there will be more benefits than even the usual, because they are coming up with the school, they are coming up with the hospital, they are coming up with some amenities, and of course houses. So the direction at which we are taking as the national government and county government is very good. And
I want to hear this from Mwangangi. There is a place for the county governments and for the National Construction Authority in the construction value chain. And both of them are interdependent. There is no institute here which is dependent. And the two agencies must work together for the benefit of the people that they serve. How can you improve the working relations between county governments and the National Construction Authority?
Before I come to that question, I think we are now almost 10, 13 years of devolution. And I think whichever capacity that was required should have been built within that.
By now.
It is like in structures. I'm sure His Excellency B must have found structures that were put there by his predecessor, who is now the senator. Equally in Machakos we found the same. So in this case, whichever capacity is there, I believe counties have substantial capacity to carry on whichever mandate that is bestowed on them. The only thing is that we continue devolving what has not been devolved, because there are some which remain, or you find some functions have gone to counties and still monies are stuck somewhere. That needs to be resolved.
That's why we have IBEX.
Yes. Now, coming to the question, I think in the law, it is provided for the collaboration between the national government and the counties. It is in law. It doesn't matter what you believe in politically. Any county government in this republic has to work collaboratively with the national government. So anything that might be lacking with whichever particular county, we can always reach out to the government. We have got no excuse whatsoever that we did not do this because of 1, 2, 3. We need, but the most important thing, and my boss, His Excellency the Governor, will agree with me, is the continuous capacity building, because that is where we are going. We need to devolve further downwards, not upwards. Centralism is what has brought this country where we are. Because when you look at economic tigers countries, some of them we contributed for them to start. Today they are way ahead of us. Why? Because we started decentralization at independence and we killed it. If we don't nurture well and support current devolution in Kenya, we are likely to go back to where we were. But I'm sure Kenyans are not ready to go back to centralism. Yes.
Before I come to you, I want to hear this from Mwilu. I know we are in the process of reviewing the National Construction Authority Act, so that it can now reflect the realities of today's world. I mean, NCA has been there since 2011. It is high time that the Act is reviewed, and I know that process is underway. Are there some areas that you feel or that you are working on that are going to improve how construction is managed at the county level, and how the relationship between county government and NCA are going to work together?
Yeah, that's true, and thank you for that question. As I answer to that, it's good I give a basis on the functions of the NCA, so that at least we can see on how it relates. Currently, as per the NCA Act, there's many functions, but usually group them into 3. We have a regulatory function, we have training and capacity building function, and we have advisory. On the regulatory function, we do register contractors. All construction contractors currently in Kenya, if you are not registered with NCA, then you are not a contractor. And the classes are as men from NCA 1 to NCA 18, and the different types of works. Number 2, we do register projects. All the projects that these contractors are undertaking, whether private or public, needs to be registered with the National Construction Authority. The purpose of this, because I do realize there has been many questions as to why we register projects, and currently we do not charge even administrative fees for that purpose. It's for data. It's for the purposes of any time there is an issue, do we have a database? Can we be in a position to know who are involved, the professionals, the contractor, the timelines, the quality control activities, and all that. We do accredit skilled construction workers and site supervisors. These are the actual workmen on the ground. We need to certify that the person doing it's accredited via some basic training. Code of conduct for the construction industry to make sure that everyone, every party can relate with each other in a better way. Lastly, in terms of regulatory, is enforcement of the building code. Right now, during quality assurance or the inspection activities, whether by the county inspectorate or by NCO or any other government agency going to sites, we need to go and do quality assurance and inspections to comply with the building code. On training and capacity building, the workers, the skilled site supervisors and construction workers, and the contractors, we do train them. For the purposes of the contractors to get their renewal of their licenses, they need to have a training every year. For the workers, it's usually free. Yeah? And in that capacity building area as well, when we go to the different counties and fields, as well we interact with the members of the public, because they are the developers. Currently, in terms of anyone, when you are building your manyatta, when you are doing your skyscraper, you are still a developer. Advisory is through research. We do our research, and even when we are meeting here and have people either doing research directly or through consultancies for the purpose of advising the government, advising the county, and advising the citizenry. For the purpose of working together with the counties to make sure that areas that we can review our NCA Act and the regulations, one is on the areas to do with area of approvals. We do realize it's only counties that approve as Wapluba. But in the issuance of the occupation certificate, it is not incorporated in terms of all the agencies to be involved. We do realize NCA is involved in the supervision, mandatory site supervisions, compliance with the NCA Act, regulations, and of course the enforcement of the building code. So we need to review that bit so that we can make sure that our counties, as they issue the occupation certificate, they have incorporated the views of the other agencies, NCA being included. The review of the contractors' evaluation criteria, the current is in the current Act and regulation. So as we review, we want to tighten it, we want to make it better, and to ease the way we act currently.
Very good. You know, I can see time is well spent, and we have about 3 minutes before we wind up. But I just want to give each one of you a minute each
let me say
to give their closing remarks. And I start with Dr.
I agree with him that government, national government and county governments, they work together. And since I became governor, I've borrowed a lot from the national government. The reason why we always have IBED meetings is because there are certain functions which had not been unbundled. And every time we meet, we discuss of the unbundled functions. At the same time, we say money should follow functions. And the reason why we want this to happen is because we want to serve the local community. Apart from that, there is a likelihood in cities that we can create slums without really being careful. That the plan, yesterday's plan, does not look like today's plan. When do we say it is a slum? So in order for us to be careful, I think we need to work with this team so much, so close, so that we don't make a mistake of coming up with slum-like structures. And at the end of the day, we will not really be a smart city the way we wanted. So I would suggest that going forward, because they are coming to my county next year, God willing, that we will allow as many technical people who are part of the developers of this city, the planners, the architects, and the rest, and the engineers, to be part of the people who will be attending, so that they will benefit from this new knowledge that will help us. And again, just to finish up, is we are so proud that the city of Eldoret is becoming a real thing. And people are coming, traveling from all over to see, because apart from just developing, we are a home to champions, all champions of soil, athletes, farmers, and the rest.
Very good. Yes, I'm giving you 30 seconds.
Thank you. One is, first I want to appreciate you for this invite to this multi-agency committee. We work together. That's why last year we participated. This year, Excellency was to attend, but she dispatched a team led by the deputy governor. Now, I want to say a few things. One is that we need to embrace professionalism in anything that we do. Let's allow professionals to do their thing, politicians do your thing, and at the end, we will have a country that is moving forward. Number two, we need a 24-hour economy. In all cities and towns of where counties sit, that is how we are going to deal with this issue of unemployment, increased productivity, but quality productivity, because we are embracing and we are working using our professionals. And lastly is devolution is the way to go. Correct. Devolution is the way to go. For this country to faster transform and develop, move from where we are developing to developed, we must support devolution. That is not because today I'm here as a deputy governor or Dr. B is there as a governor. No, we need to focus on devolution as it is. And this meeting is very important. It's my humble request that the next one, they invite His Excellency the President and all our bosses, governors, who participate in it. It's very important.
Yes, thank you, Brian. I have 2 points. One-stop operations is the way to go in the construction industry. We need to do the e-permitting that we have been discussing, that all agencies need to work together and they provide one certificate or one certificate. When we are going for inspections, we really need to go there as a team, as a joint operation. Deputy Governor did mention about the tigers, the Asian tigers. It is true that Singapore currently has the one-stop shop kind of operations in terms of construction, permitting and operations. It is doable. Lastly, it's to thank the governors, to thank the CS who was here to open this session. Deputy Governor has been here with us since Monday. But Governor B has been here with us since yesterday. We do expect Governor from Mombasa to be here with us today. And the CEOs who have attended this function from Monday, the CEO for NCA, CEO for EBK, and the others who have been with us. We want to thank them, and hopefully, Deputy Governor, next year, after, as we go to Eldoret, through the invite of the Eldoret Governor, of course, we hope that the leadership of the country will join us and will have outcomes that will change the way we are doing things in the construction industry. Thank you very much, sir.
Gentlemen, thank you so very much indeed for finding time to be with us here in Mombasa and to help us, weave through this conversation around, the construction industry and how to make it strong and how to re-engineer the construction industry at the national level and even at the county level. Asanteni sana for your time. I mean, that's the kind of conversation that we've been having here throughout this week, and of course, tracking the conversations taking place inside that hall where the multi-sectoral agency consultative committee has been meeting since Monday to deliberate on how to strengthen the construction industry here in Kenya, and of course how to grow the expertise that is needed to make a sustainable construction industry going forward. O'Brien Kimani is my name. Thank you very much. You have been watching Biz Check. We have Kurunzi Mashinani, which is coming up next after this. Asanteni sana for your time. See you later.